Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here, got another Master Duel video for you. Coming at you with a deck that I haven't played in far too long, and that is going to be White Forest. Specifically, I'm playing Millennium and Fiendsmith on a 43 card build. The deck list will be available at the end of the video. We're going to start off with a going first game here, mostly just to kind of show off the deck's main combo line. Normally I would do that separately, but I pretty much went off uninterrupted here against Tenpai. I actually lost this coin flip, but my opponent allowed me to go first. If we take a look up here, yeah, so they chose to go second. So against Tenpai, we had a hand that was full combo, and I did make a pretty decent sized slip up because I was running low on the timer. Towards the end, I'll point that out though. But if you're looking for some like uninterrupted combo lines, then I would definitely check out Moha. Moha is the GOAT in general, definitely when it comes to combo guides. I've used quite a few of theirs in the past, but also just a huge White Forest enthusiast. So if you're looking for White Forest combos, or combos in particular, definitely hugely recommend Moha. But yeah, like I said, it's been way too long since I've played White Forest. I thought about coming back to it last season, but I was like, the new support could come out, you know, very soon. But I decided that, you know what, I'll just go ahead and cover it. And if this video is obsolete in a couple of weeks because they announced the new support, that is completely fine. It's just another excuse to play even more White Forest. Also, it's an excuse to flex on my Royal Rextrament, as this is really the only deck that wants to use Rextrament as part of the Fiendsmith engine. That's because Rextrament, by sending a spell or trap card from hand to the graveyard, will then trigger the effect of a Stellar, which we just sent off of Sprint. Now we can special summon Sylvie. The crazy part about this combo line is that we've bounced from Fiendsmith to White Forest, and we haven't even used our normal summon. If we had opened with Millennium Engine, we could simply use those bodies to make Moon, go into Fiendsmith line, and the only thing you really have to do differently. Well, you know what? The next replay is actually going to cover that, so I'll show you how to combo with Millennium stuff when we get to the next game there. I'm going to go for the Diabell. I can even add back the Imperm that we sent off cost here. The really cool thing about this deck is that you would expect that you would need to have like an additional spell or trap card to do pretty much all of your individual plays, and while that is true for needing to have something to discard off Rextrament, you know, the combo line itself will fuel, you know, cards to send with your White Forest monsters, or, you know, in this case, we used the Deception of the Sinful Spoils to send to the Fuelos in our hand, but even if you didn't have a Fuelos in hand you wanted to get rid of, you could still just send the Rextrament from the field to the graveyard. It's not a big deal to do that. Baron de Fleur means our Omni Negate is online. We can add back Hallowed as a Mina in order to go for our Murashil, or not Murashilago, that's the one we already summoned. We're going to go for the Ilia Sylvia and get our second Omni Negate online. It's been way too long since I've used Azamina or White Forest cards for that matter. Yeah, you would think that, you know, I'd be way into such a synchro-focused archetype, but, you know, funnily enough, we only really play 4 synchro monsters in our extra deck. 1 copy of each of the White Forest synchros, and then Baron de Fleur. Everything else is a fusion or a link, so it's funny because it is a synchro archetype, but just how little synchro summoning you actually need to do. That doesn't mean I like it any less, though. Okay, so actually, you know what? Let me point out my mistake here. Instead of making SP Little Knight, I should have instead made Moon of the Closed Heaven. That was the part of the combo line I forgot. Because it's a little counterintuitive, right? In the back of my head, I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm done with Fiendsmith stuff, so I don't need to go into Moon. But if I had gone into Moon instead of Little Knight, then I could have linked Moon, and then my remaining effects, you know, White Forest monsters, Rusia and Elzet, and I could have turned those into the Abao Aku. Now, to be fair, the Little Knight is also still interaction, but also my board's pretty clogged up now, so I really should have probably just made the Abao Aku, or simply not summoned these monsters. But that is the misplay I made there. Alright, so they're going to lead with Vesper Girsu. Definitely going to want to use the Ilia Sylvia against that, because that'll just, you know, stop me from being able to use monster effects and then cause me to lose my hand. Ultimate Slayer, they're going to send the Cloud Beast in order to get rid of my Baron de Fleur. And then the Cloud Beast itself can in turn bounce my Diabell. I figure if it's going to get bounced anyway, I might as well summon Sylvie from my graveyard. No reason not to. And now they're going to go for the Triple Tactics Thrust, where you have an Ash Blossom in order to counter that. Sometimes, I don't know, in a better hand, I might have waited to see what they got off Thrust, but I have so little interaction left, I'm not really going to mess with it. So they finally go normal summon Pydra. We've got an Imperm in order to stop that. And at this point, I think they're out of stuff to do. Yep, they're just going to go Battle Phase and battle over my Little Knight, which is fine. I'm not really concerned about that at all. End phase, I'm going to Lacrima Revive for the Requiem. I guess I should have done that during the end of main phase 2, but I was also really, really low on my timer, because this was one of my earlier duels where I was trying to remember how to do the full, White Forest combo line, and I did get it for the most part. Again, I just made Little Knight instead of the Moon at the end there, which is the big mistake I made, but gonna go into Diabell just to get some room on the main monster zones here, get another strong body on board. Because really at this point, it doesn't matter how I really combo, I just need to go for lethal here. And I did peel a Sengenjin, which is a really fast way to do it. I also distinctly remember that I had like under 30 seconds left on the clock at this point. So I was just like, okay, Synchro Summon, make my next monster, gonna be the Rasila, don't need to activate the effect, summon Sengenjin, and then activate in order to place it into my monster zone, search, whatever. Okay, battle phase. And yeah, I was under 10 seconds as I was swinging into lethal here. I mean, White Forest is a deck that it's got very long combo lines, right? And all the different engines can easily branch into one another. So in that regard, you are often going to be spending a lot of times slinging cards, even if you can remember what you're doing. Which I did not perfectly do here. But all the same, we were able to take that W against Tenpai. Let me show you another way to combo on turn 1 here. Alright, this duel against Mitsurugi Orcust is just going to be a quick going first game. It's going to be a one-turn duel, because I'm mostly just showing you how to pivot from Millennium in order to go into your full combo, because you have to do things a little bit differently. Alright, we're going to place the Sengenjin at the start here. We already have the Wedju Temple on hand, but you don't even need all 3 bodies off the Millennium Engine. You really just need 2. You just need to be able to go into Moon of Closed Heaven. Now, we do also need Moon of Closed Heaven later in our combo line, so we're going to have to make sure we put it back in the extra deck with our Fiendsmith stuff. And honestly, I kind of like having the Sengenjin and the Spell Trap instead of making a Doom Dragon here. Not that I could anyway, but it still just gives you more things to send off your White Forest cards, right? So yep, Requiem for Lacrima, Lacrima send. Again, we're going to make sure we put Moon back specifically, that way we can link summon it later. And then we're going to go into Sequence. Now, activate Sequence, summoning out the Fiendsmith's Requiem, or Lacrima rather. We can go Lacrima F, revive the Engraver. Actually, not revive it. So that's actually the key difference, right? Because if you open with Engraver, you already have access to Tract. But if you opened with your Millennium Engine, Tract is still in your deck. So rather than revive with the Lacrima, we need to make sure that we add it to our hand. That way we can send it, add Tract, and then we can go Tract for Lurie. We need Tract in the graveyard so that way we can use it to fusion summon the Rextramen. Now we can summon Lurie. Lurie plus Sequence is how we can make Sprite Sprend. And then you can go Sprite Sprend effect to send to the Esteller. Now we can banish Tract. Fuse Sprend plus Fiendsmith's Lacrima will allow us to summon the Rextramen. And we have a Spell Trap card in our hand in order to send off the Morian, so we can just do that. Normally I would try to keep the Sequence and or Requiem in the graveyard, but because I have the Wedju Temple and Sengenjin, I can just send those with a Stellar. Now actually here, I added Tails, but I probably could have just added Woes, because I don't think I'm going to end up needing the Tails search. Oh yeah, here we go, I just added the Woes off of it, yep, that makes sense. And then I can use Tails to get the LZ. Now LZ can go with the Rasila into Diabel. But yeah, I also could have just used Sylvie to add woes, I think, in that case, and then synchroed for Rasila, sent the woes, and then added LZ off Rasila. You can do it either way, really. So yeah, here I show, using Deception to tribute off the Rex Tremend. If you don't have anything in your hand you want to get rid of, that's how you can, you know, get your tribute fodder for Deception. The Rex Tremend body is nice, but even if you do leave it, you're just going to end up linking it off later anyway, so... Yeah, here my opponent conceded. Well, their connection failed, quote-unquote. But, yeah, just wanted to show a quick alternate way to combo on turn 1. Now let's take a look at some going second games. Here is a going second duel against Branded. And I was feeling pretty good even losing the coin flip, because... And again, I'll show the list towards the end of the video, but we do have a lot of hand traps. I think we have 14 in this build. It's one of the reasons I'm at 43 cards, is to make sure that I'm including a few more hand traps, right? I don't want to be lacking on those. Gonna Ash the Branded Fusion, naturally, and thankfully they don't have a counter to it. We also still have the Maxi if they continue to have plays, but here they're actually just gonna set one and then pass, so... We're looking pretty good. We got both Lacrima and Golem. Got the Sylvie as well. So I'm going to lead with Golem. And then we're going to go for the Wedju Temple. Activate Wedju Temple. And I'm actually going to use it to put Sylvie in the spell trap zone. That sounds really weird, but I actually value the Lacrima as my normal summon a lot more highly. Because I can just get a Sylvie later in my combo line anyway. I guess there is still an argument to keeping Sylvie around, and that is that I could have synchroned it with Golem to make Baron earlier, but here they're going to Super Poly and then fuse off my Doom Dragon with their Alibur in order to make the Dragos Stapelia. It's pretty annoying they got like a real, you know, thing I have to worry about off Super Poly. But I'm going to move to Battle Phase here. And I'm going to use Sengenjin in order to battle over the Dragos Stapelia. They're going to summon a Magnum Hut by banishing the Mercurier out of the graveyard, and then they can use Mercurier's effect in order to add, I think they're going to get Golden Sword here. Soul here. Yep, there it is. Alright, Dragos Stapelia is off the board. No need to worry about that anymore. Normal summon Lacrima. Lacrima's going to dump Engraver and then link off into Requiem. Alright, Requiem effect activating. Summon out the Engraver, rather, from my deck. Gonna use the Requiem here real quick just to get rid of the Magnum Hut, because there's, you know, no reason not to. No reason to give them more bodies. Now we can go Sengenjin plus Engraver to make Sequence. Note that I have not actually activated Engraver's effect, so I'm hedging a little bit here. If my opponent still has some disruption, I can still have access to another body if I need it, but... Here's Fiendsmith's Lacrima, gonna add back the Engraver, because we still need access to Tract in order to make our Rex Tremend. Gonna add the Tract, activate Tract, here's Lurie. Now here we get to summon out the Fabled Lurie, link it off with the Sequence in order to make Sprite Sprend. And just like the last two combo lines, we're gonna dump a Stellar. Yeah, basically now in my main phase 2, I'm just gonna make my turn 1 end board here, right? And while I didn't get to finish my opponent off this turn, that's actually fine because, again, I'm going to make my full turn 1 end board, and they're going to be on 3 cards in hand. One of them we already know is the Golden Sword Soul. They don't have the Retribution to get back Branded Fusion in their graveyard either, so I'm feeling pretty good. They do get the Magnum Hut search during the end phase, but, you know, I think a Saronir or whatever they're going to add is, well, I mean, to be fair, they could add Albaz. There's a number of things they could add, but... we'll be able to handle it. Alright, here is the Stellar. White Forest stuff is online. There's Sylvie. Again, that's why I put Sylvie in the spell trap zone earlier. Wasn't really concerned about it not having access to her. I knew I could get her later in the turn. Now Rasila can dump off the Woes. We can add LZ as Amina and then reset Woes. Yet another piece of interaction during our opponent's turn if we need it. Summon LZ. Gonna Synchro Summon into the Diabel. And I think at this point my opponent knew I was just going to full combo off here. And I'm pretty sure they concede shortly after this chain link. Literally, Wedju Temple is the only spell trap zone in my graveyard, so we can just add that back. And then I actually misclicked. I went for Wanton instead of Deception, but it's really not that big of a deal because I already have Hallowed Azamina in my hand anyway. So I could have just done it in the other order. I think I could have just added Deception off the or set Deception off the Diabell Star and then just sent that later. It didn't matter. They just conceded anyway. So, all right, got one more going second game to show you, and then we'll finish off. And this final game is going to be against a 60-card Horus Memento build. Been seeing a lot more people on Memento lately. Really makes me want to get back into it. And I still never have made that Memento guide that I've been wanting to. I don't know, it's just the deck is like not very popular anymore, so I shouldn't let that dictate whether, you know, I play a deck or not, but for some reason with Memento, I let that get to me. Now, here I decided to use Droll instead of Fuelos because it's not technically, you know, I mean, it's not a one-card combo at all, not even technically, but LZ plus Tails should still be full combo anyway, so I'm like, I won't hedge, I'll just play Droll here. Now, they did have a Sleepy in hand. That means they can use the Tatsuno Toshigo to set up Gaddock and Goblin and Key Mace, or Mace, rather, in the graveyard. But they're still going to have to fuse a lot of stuff from hand in order to make the Creation King. Of course, they didn't go for the Thunder or the Twin Dragon because they can't search off that. And they're not able to search off the Fusion or Creation King they dumped either. Again, because of Droll and Lockbird. Droll is very good against Memento. Alright, they're going to Link Summon into Sprite Elf. They go End of Main. I'm going to go Nibiru, send off their board, give them a big token. Now, they can still revive off the... Or not revive. Yeah, they can revive the Combined Creation off of its own effect. But in order to do so, they had to put back every last Memento monster that was still in their graveyard. Meaning, you know, even as I go to use cards and effects, they're not going to be able to special summon Memento stuff from their graveyard. Draw for turn, find Crossout. That's beautiful. Now if the last card in hand is a hand trap, I'm not worried about it. LZ, Tails, they're going to concede. So, yeah, I would have added Sylvie, normal summon Sylvie effects to add Woes, and then we could have Synchro Summoned into Rosila. I could have added, yeah, just a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, from there, like, LZ, probably, I mean, it would have been Deception off LZ Azamina. Rosila probably would have added regular LZ, I think. And then, of course, Woes would have reset itself. So, obviously, just any number of ways I could have continued to combo out from there. Alright, there's our duels. Let me go ahead and show you the build before we end off the video here. Alright, so here is my take on Millennium Fiendsmith White Forest. As you can see, I'm at 43 cards. I mentioned that in one of the games there, in order to maximize the number of hand traps as well as starters that I'm playing here. So, for starters, we have our LZ of the White Forest. We don't technically even need to go through this in our main combo line, but it is still a starter if you open it with another spell trap. A Stellar actually is as well, and I've kind of been thinking about going 2 and 2 on these instead of 3 and 1, because we also want to still be able to send a Stellar from our deck to the graveyard. So I didn't have any games where I opened her, but there are, I could see, you know, some situations where you would still want a copy to send off of Sprint, so I might play around with those ratios. But so for starters, we have a Stellar and then LZs, that's 4. Sylvie's makes 7, Golem is 8, Engravers makes 10, Sengengens makes 13, and then we also have the Wedju Temple, that makes 14. So that's definitely not bad at all. White Forest is definitely, you know, a deck that kind of relies on other engines to have that many starters, but that is not the most uncommon thing in this meta at all. I mean, you look at Mitsurugi, you look at, I mean, Orcust also playing Millennium and Fiendsmith, you know, so. And then for hand traps, we have 2 Droll plus 2 Maxi, gonna be 4, plus 3 Ash Blossom is 7, plus 3 Fuelos is 10, plus Nib is 11, and then plus the Imperms also makes 14. So, yeah, that's pretty much on par with a lot where a lot of you know, meta decks want to be. But again, it's mostly that where a lot of meta decks can actually fit that in 40. In this build, I had to, you know, get up to 43. But this deck does have a lot of cards you don't want to open. Even though one of them is a starter like a Stellar, you still don't really want to open this. So between stuff like that and the Rusia and, you know, your stuff like Woes and Tails, I'm completely fine going a little bit over 40 for a deck like this. Extra deck is pretty tight. I think you pretty much always have to play this 15. I guess you could do something other than a Bawaku if you wanted to end on something other than that during, you know, the end of your combo line. Obviously, if you're not on Millennium Engine, you don't have to play Doom Dragon, but Millennium Engine is so good for not only providing additional starters for the deck, but also additional spell and trap cards to send for your White Forest effects. So I really like having the Millennium Engine. I would definitely try, you know, I would not want to rather try playing this deck without it. I wouldn't be inclined to do so, but I think it is still decently optional. If you really don't want to play it, you could just play, you know, Fiendsmith White Forest, go down to 40, play a little bit more off engine, and still do roughly the same thing, just with fewer starters. But yeah, I think that's going to pretty much do it for my coverage here of White Forest. Hope you all enjoyed. Thank you as always for watching all the way to the end. Really do appreciate you for that. Let us move on now to our outro. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which by the way is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go ahead and hit that join button to see content early, as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.